Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another one of these Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI casts, and we should have a good one here today, as it's going to be one of the rising stars, PhantomBot, taking on a very solid Terran pushing bot, Phobos. Yes, so PhantomBot is a bot that I don't actually know just too much about. I've cast it a few times, but you do have to watch quite a few games of a specific bot to really understand how it ticks. So yeah, it should be a fun one here, seeing how PhantomBot handles Phobos today. Zerg versus Terran. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches, and then subscribe if you haven't already. As, yeah, you can click that bell icon, get notified. I put up posts, I put up videos. This Overlord is doing the happy dance, I suppose, as it seems to be getting conflicting commands. I wonder if it's trying to get... Okay, it's trying to path towards the third base, but then where else is it trying to go? I don't... Okay, so the Overlords are trying to split between the bases, which is a little bit comical. We'll see if they stay there the whole game, or if they ever move a little bit further. That is... I mean, maybe this is the behavior the bot author intended, but that is one of the things you have to be careful about when programming your bot. If you just let something loop or run a command every tick or whatever, then you will potentially have situations where your bot gets conflicting commands. This Overlord is actually moving along, which is the funny thing, or at least it was. Like, it's slowly wiggling around the map. You learn something new watching these bot games, that's for sure. Now we have got a command center and a Reaper on the way for Phobos. Double gas as well though, so factory on the way behind this. And then PhantomBot is just getting up a couple of lings. That's actually the second Reaper on the way, pardon me. The first one's already out. So now PhantomBot has to pass that first Zerg test, having these lings, try and chase that Reaper down. The Reaper is avoiding the lings, shooting at some of them, tossing down a grenade is good to see, but Queen's coming out to help, and this Reaper should be pushed away without taking too much damage. Now, Phobos does have quite good micro on its units, so who knows, maybe when this extra Reaper shows up, they'll be able to get some work done. There's also a Hellion that will be crossing the map as well. But it does look like PhantomBot's Queen positioning is quite good so far. Reaper tosses a grenade from the high ground to the low ground, still avoiding these lings though. And yes, PhantomBot just hanging on, getting out drones, doing its Zerg thing. The third base is already up. Of course, both of these bots are speed mining, so their base timings are a little bit different than a human's timings. And PhantomBot, notably, pulled out of gas entirely, so it just wants to either produce drones, queens, or lings, as we do have the Reapers still running around causing problems. Two Queens trying to pursue one in the main. Hellions are trying to get on top of some of these lings. Fancy moves by the Reaper jumping into the main. There is still 3 Reapers present in there. Queens are trying to pursue, but it's a little bit dicey. One of these Reapers is rather injured. It may go down. Meanwhile, there's 2 more to the north that are being worked on, as Hellions are poking at the front. It does seem that PhantomBot is handling this quite well, all things considered. 13 dead lings and a dead drone for 3 dead Reapers. It's not the worst trade in the world. Very cool micro between these bots, but PhantomBot may be biting off more than it can chew, as these Hellions are fighting just a small number of lings. As I say that though, okay, it does get one of the Hellions. And yeah, very cool ling micro, just trying to pursue this Hellion. PhantomBot has double Roach Warren on the way, a lair going up as well, which means it has resumed gas mining, and is going to mine more gas with an extra assimilate extractor on the way, pardon me. More gases getting thrown down as well. The Zerg bot has done a good job of macroing up, already at 51 drones, sub 5 minutes into the game, which means it does have the resources it needs to have good production, potentially. Meanwhile, Phobos is just building up Marines and tanks, going for that kind of expected all-in that it likes to go for. Phobos does sometimes build lots of Vikings as well with its pushes, but Vikings, of course, are not as helpful against Zerg. The Raven will be, though. And let's see, as... yeah, Phobos is just doing its thing, pumping out those Marines, getting the Raven on the way. PhantomBot is going up to a very, very high drone count, producing another 6 right now. Means it's going to have a very beastly economy, but at the same time, it could potentially be vulnerable when Phobos does move out. And I do say when, because Phobos is a bot that is more than likely going to be the attacking bot in this game. As I say that, though, a few roaches do come up. Like, they want to fight some Marines. We've got some very wonky bot micro as these two sides clash. Looks like Phobos maybe getting the better fire rate as its Marines are pulling back pretty effectively, whereas PhantomBot, some of the units are like going forward, going back a little bit. But it is getting on top of these Marines. Roaches are way, way better than Marines, so a nice round of pickoffs for PhantomBot, getting a few Marines, knocking that count down before they have potentially any upgrades or anything to be stronger. However, a few roaches do die to an auto turret and a tank shot. And what wacky positioning this is. Phobos has a third base on the way now. Marines skirmishing with a Ravager. Viking hunts down and kills an Overlord. Oh no, the poor wonky Overlords. Overseer, not so wonky, but it is being hunted down, so we'll keep an eye on that. The Zerg bot does have the 4th on the way, though. Getting up Glial Reconstitution, Tunneling Claws, +1 on the way. And Phobos is actually attempting to go for a double expand, just getting a base at the 3rd, and then it was going for a base at the 4th as well, which I definitely don't mind. Just it's unfortunate that there was units there. This Overlord does find another poor, wacky Overlord. This makes me a little sad. It makes me think of like cats with wobbly cat syndrome. Anyway, after that downer, we've got Phobos trying to expand yet again to a 4th base, building on the gold, but it's still just having to hold its tank line here against its opponent. There's 17 Marines, but they're in the main, maybe trying to deal with an Overseer. That's exactly what's trying to happen, leaving these tanks a little bit vulnerable. They are doing okay for themselves. This 4th base, it might actually get up, depending on this SCV pathing. A Viking coming home to kill off the Overseer to fix the pathing may be essential for Phobos too. That SCV is still alive. This command center is reasonably close to completing, but oh, the SCV pads to the Roach. He's got to be careful. Viking kills the Overseer. That's a nice pickoff, as the Terran is just building on up right now. PhantomBot's now got double Hydroden on the way. It is a bot that likes to build 2 of each production building, it seems. Now up to 5 bases. That 4th almost gets finished, but not quite. A scan gets dropped here by Phobos, as the Zerg bot does lose some of those roaches poking forward, so not taking the best trade so far, but if it can deny this 4th base, that would be quite nice. As, yeah, that's the thing with bots. Even Phobos is having it happen in this game, where the units are getting multiple commands when there's lots going on the map, like there's an attack to the south, an attack to the north. This 4th base does not have another SCV on it yet, which is wildly unfortunate. We'll see. Phobos may be able to save it, but it really just needs to get an SCV there. Another attempt at a 4th base will be shut down immediately. Another SCV does get on the base, so that's really good for Phobos. Tanks are inching forward. The command center does finish up, although it is burning, so that desperately needs repair. It's turning into a planetary, but it may not make it that far. SCVs are now going down in the natural, as PhantomBot does have a nice attack hitting that natural. The PF dies before it can complete morphing. Phobos has a nice count of Marauders, so it's got a decent army, but it is still on 3 bases, taking economic damage from these Lings. Marauders kiting back, as PhantomBot just has got incredible creep spread in this game as well. If we zoom out, that is just a lot of tumors. That's the beauty of robots. Well, I guess bots. They actually just constantly will do that creep spread. 12 tumors being spread at a time. Not even Cyril can do that while macroing as much. Now, more harassment is being attempted by PhantomBot. The Terran does seem to be holding the line decently now, but the question is to what effect? What's it waiting for? There is still no fourth base sighted. The tanks are definitely a big threat for the Zerg bot, though, as there's even SCVs brought with them to repair. That's one of the cool features of Phobos. Overlords are in the front line. That is definitely interesting, too. Spire's on the way for the Zerg. A Hive's on the way for the Zerg. Yeah, Phobos, like, it's not dying or anything, but it is definitely on the back foot a little bit here, because, like, yeah, no fourth base, nothing like that. We do have a drop being queued up by Phobos. That's something that's quite rare in these bots, so I can definitely appreciate that, as it is just really cool. We almost never get that from any bots, as it is something very difficult to program, but the bot authors are giving it a try here. The Zerg is just continuing to push at Phobos, the natural base having mining being disrupted still, as the Terran's army is just out of position to deal with its natural, because these units, they're kind of constantly engaging each other if we look at the vision, which means that neither of them really wants to retreat or go anywhere else, it would seem. So the natural of Phobos is having a hard time mining. Marauders could potentially be heroes and save this, but roaches are coming into the main base. And yeah, this is a game of a little bit of wacky micro for now. Tanks still getting lots of work done. This tank up to 14 kills. The other one at 14 kills, 22 kills, 18 kills, 33 kills. So these tanks of Phobos have been doing some incredible work. But the problem is the main base is really being breached right now, as Phobos just isn't really rallying its reinforcements in a good direction. Pardon me for missing that drop, as it did go off in the main base, but it seems like it was shut down pretty handily. I mean, the Zerg has only lost 6 drones this game. Phobos does push off of creep. Unfortunately, it's only got like a Marine to shoot at the Corruptors, which are shooting at its Medivacs, so that's quite painful. I mean, SCVs are at least repairing those Medivacs, so who knows? Okay, there's actually 2 Marines shooting at the Corruptors. It'll, instead of 100 years, it'll only take 50 years for those Marines to kill the Corruptors. But yeah, the natural of Phobos is lighting up like a Christmas tree. The main base is really just being compromised, as the micro of Phobos is just having a very, very difficult time. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy these games and you potentially want to see a rematch, click that like button, leave a comment down below. This seems like a bit of a wonky match between these two, as PhantomBot does go forward, engaging onto the Queens, a very decisive move, which is cool to see. The Terran now has no Medivacs to support this bio, so it can't really stim. The tanks are still getting some phenomenal trades, but the Terran's main is compromised, so there's no more production for Phobos, really. Okay, 3 Marines are being produced. There's a planetary at the 3rd, so that's going to be tougher for PhantomBot to bring down. But, yeah, this is quite difficult. Broodlord's morphing above the Marauders. That's quite a good decision by PhantomBot, seeing as how there's literally 0 anti-air, so rest in peace those tanks, I suppose. And yeah, it does seem that PhantomBot is going to take this one. Yeah, it was a lot of wacky back and forth micro between these two bots, but an interesting game nonetheless. I think casting a rematch or casting more of PhantomBot in the future could be entertaining, so we'll keep an eye on that bot. If you guys want to see more of it, just let me know. I'm going to do a micro battle after this match too, by the way, so do not go anywhere, as those are always a hoot to watch. And then yeah, just if you guys want to support the channel, consider becoming a YouTube member. I think Phobos is pretty dead at this point. Yeah, big thanks to everyone that does support the channel via the YouTube membership program. It goes a long way. I think we are actually at 10 members, so big thanks to everyone that does that. And then yeah, Phobos just it comes down with a case of the deads. I'll load us into that micro battle now. Okay, now we've got Memshark taking on Oops in a TVT, which means it will be the best micro wins. Interesting angles of attack here, although Oops, I think, loses some firepower from walking in that horseshoe shape, whereas Memshark just had the nice line, so it does come out on top in the first match. In these micro battles, it's always 10 rounds, with each team switching sides between attacker and defender. Looks like once again Oops is just going to run in, but that horseshoe shape definitely does expose its Marines on the tips, and so that is not a winning strategy for Marine versus Marine, as Memshark takes the lead. Oops And now this is an interesting one. There's nothing to repair with in this, so these SCVs are strictly for fighting. As Hellions engage each other, getting shots off during this, all the Hellions are still alive presently, and so it's just Hellion versus Hellion. More splits by Oops as Memshark moves forward, and yes, Oops does bite back with this one. Look at the horseshoe shape is definitely interesting from Memshark. Yes, now Oops is getting some good Hellion shots off, as all the SCVs have now perished. This one might be a little bit closer, as it's 4 Hellions against 3. Now 3 against 3. They're also red for the blue Terran, so so the red Terran will win. Okay, Reapers and Hellions now. We'll see if either of these bots utilizes the grenade feature. That's something that the authors have to program into their bot, as those abilities, yes, do take some work. Looks like both bots do throw down some grenades, causing the Hellions to scatter. However, Memshark is eating lots of shots. Then one of its Reapers was just out to lunch, so Oops takes that round quite convincingly. We'll see if this one's going to be any different with the Reaper grenade placement, as they just... Yeah, the placement of Oops' grenades really just messes with Memshark, sends it all over the place, as you can program your bot to dodge the grenades, but sometimes that overall behavior can send you scattering and losing DPS. Hellions now going to want to target the Marines in this engagement. And let's see, as we do have the line against the horseshoe. Once again, Hellions taking the lead for Oops, then them kiting back, and now just charging forward as Oops just groups up all its bio, but it seems to kind of be working as it really gets on top of Memshark's army. There's a Marauder still against 4 Hellions, 3 Marines. I mean, the Marines might not do that well for themselves, but it takes a lot of Hellions to kill a Marauder. So Oops definitely taking the lead in this one, as Memshark needs to strike back now. Okay, those Hellions, once again, looks like a few of the Hellions did go down quicker in this engagement, as Memshark strikes from the north and seems to have the... I mean, this one's very close. Like, the Marauders are very injured for Memshark, as... Yeah, now it's just 3 Hellions against 2 Marauders. 1 Marauder, the other Hellion's so injured, it does go down, but yes, Oops actually takes it still. That one was a lot closer. Now, Marines and Marauders against Marines and Marauders. You want to kill the opponent's Marines. Okay, apparently there's Stim. There's also Concussive Shell and Combat Shield. So the Marines of Oops are in the front. So they are having a bit of a tough time, but it seems to be working out, actually, as... Yeah, Oops actually just dominates Memshark there. So you'd think the Marauders would want to be in the front, but, I mean, Oops had its... Or Memshark had its Marines in the... No, Oops had its Marines in the front. Anyway, Marines and Marauders killing each other, as Memshark is quite aggressive there, but it doesn't seem to work out. The Marine Micro really is something very phenomenal to see. Oops does take it 8-2 for this one. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.